Is it the coffee farming providing an opportunity for the people on the farms to thrive as human beings? Or is it just really something that is allowing people to stay alive? And I would say like quality could be something completely really super big and super based on how good is the soil, how good is the people working on it, how much happiness is involved in the coffee process, how much love, how much care is really given to this product. And let's say this is the minimum condition to call the farm to be above the edge or above the minimum of quality, environmentally talking. They have ground covers, they don't use any longer herbicides, they have compost management, they spray microorganisms or liquid manures, they do things like this. And then the farmer has to start doing this. And then when it comes here, somebody comes and say, yeah, you get the happiness symbol on your coffee. Now I pay you 0.50 more. Okay, all this is very expensive. It might take 1, 2, or 3 years to achieve. And then here is somebody saying, if you get there, I buy your coffee. If you get this certification, I buy your coffee. I get more or less 1 or 2 requests of Demeter buyers from Europe willing to have Demeter coffees, and my answer is always the same. Are you ready to finance this, or do you want the farmer to finance it? Most of the times when people talk about the social aspect of these products, we always look down to the origin, but I always will question, and what is that side giving to this side? I ask you, will you reject a farmer you've been working with the last 10 years that always achieving 86 plus coffees, and then one day he comes with an 83 coffee, something happened in the farm, rain, politics, family, you know these problems now. And now, you know you didn't achieve 85, you're out of the market. Then what happened with these needs, with this family, with these dreams, with these hopes? So then that's something we have to ask, how to assess quality in these real conditions. I'm not really sure what is going to happen. I offered Benjamin also, I asked him that we could do this cupping. I wanted to see the opinions of your calibration into these coffees I brought from Costa Rica, and also I had the chance to bring these ones from Honduras to have a second perspective or a second look. And I offered that I can also have some talk on, yeah, we could talk about coffee and biodynamics and soil fertility and social justice behind the future of coffee. This is a bit of what we do. But I would like to start, actually I'm not going to do a talk, you know, like I'm going to give some insights and some perspectives from my experience on the ground with the farmers. And, but I would like really to do an interactive process. So this will not work without questions. And the first thing I would like to see or to hear is like, what can you imagine, maybe from the perspective of Kaffeemacher, when we talk, we put together these words, you know, like coffee, quality, biodynamics, soil fertility, sustainability, human beings. What kind of picture you can do with this? I mean, what could be an approach to work forward? We're talking about coffee, which is the second product in the market after oil in the legal market that makes more money move in the world. So it has quite a good importance in the economic level. Nevertheless, in the production countries, the reality is quite different. So what can you put together with these concepts?
That's a question.
It's a question. Yeah, and we can play with more words, but then it gets more tricky. You know, like we're talking about coffee. That's one good one to begin. Many people like to put this together. I'm not sure if I will make it the English writing without my Google correction, but doesn't matter. Coffee quality, you know, what is really quality when we talk in coffee? What do you think? What's quality coffee for you? It is an objective, you mean like something you're seeking?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one.
Sorry, you said subjective?
Objective.
Like a goal.
No, like what is quality? Something like.
Something that is measurable and things,
Yeah,
that's what you mean?
maybe
Okay. But in this case, you're talking about something rational, measurable.
Yeah, standards.
Okay,
Or standards.
that's a good one. What else?
I think most of the customers don't know what is quality in coffee.
And you think that all the roasters know what's quality in coffee?
Of course not.
Do you know that all the traders know what's quality in coffee?
I hope so.
The farmers?
No.
So we can actually put all of the coffee market chain here and ask them, what do you think about quality, right? Like, what does the farmer understands by quality? What does the, let's say the trading group, because this could mean 1 or 10 people before it gets to someone, and a roaster, and barista. And then it gets to the consumers. Okay, but what if we add to this word, like a more common word, like just make sustainability thinking on it? You know, it's very broader, you know, like we can really talk on a sustainability level where we like the Rainforest Alliance and fair trade and all these things. That's not sustainable enough for a lot of people. Or some people want it to be organic certified, some people want it to be not just fair trade, now it's fair for life, now it's direct trade, I don't know. What if we add to this combination of words now sustainability? What else comes into the game?
All three pillars.
What?
The social part, the economic, and the environmental part.
Okay, now you're talking about a triangle. You're talking about economy, social, and environmental. Okay.
Yeah, sustainable opens directly more an holistic approach.
It can. Is it?
Come again? Question?
Yeah, what's holistic?
Holistic is, well, I would say balancing all the balances we have in coffee, which is economic, social, and environmental, on all levels of the chain. That is, for me, sustainable and also holistic. So opening the books and keeping in concern not only the quality, the economic part, but also the social and the environmental balance, and trying to combine that into a whole picture.
Okay. That I like. And I made this little example, like actually we'll never do it like with only 3, like this bull eye system, like actually how sometimes the cupping score is presented, like this circle with all the points, and did you mark and did you make a circle? Then you can say how far are you, you know? Maybe there is one project that is super social, but it's not really that environmental, you know, like, but then economically, yeah, it's more like a charity project. Yeah. Some projects are super economic. Actually, most of the projects are here. Some of them maybe say, yeah, let's pay a bit better, you know, like maybe we go around here. And some of them say, yeah, let's tell them that keep some forests quite good and you can move around, you know. Then the question would be how many really coffees in the world really share a perspective of holistic approach.
What would you say?
I would say that's the challenge of our next generation, maybe. But the nice thing is that this picture is quite clear worldwide. Like it's very clear that we need to move forward in all the agricultural products in a direction that will somehow, let's see this very financially. All the coffee market is dependent on the capacity of the farmer to continuously produce coffees that match with the market needs. This means like they have certain cupping profile that can fit into a market, that can have a certain standardization or homogenization of one lot that fits into the market volume, that can have certain logistics solved with a certain range of numbers of prices and market that can fit into this market, and then that somebody can produce this over the years. So this is really a very pragmatic approach. In order to keep this chain flowing, we have to look into the soil. This is really there's no a single coffee company that cannot say that we can continue selling coffee without sending back something to put attention into the soil, because like the economic factor, you know, economy means to keep the house clean, keep the house in order. That is the Greek sense of economy. It's like keeping your stuff in order around you. The thing is that economy has separated too much from the natural base. You know, like the natural base is where the coffee is grown and is being separated by a wall where the real economy happens. The real economy, I mean like where the money flows, right? So then there is a big gap between here and here, huge. And we have a task to make this shorter and try to be sure that here this soil is going to have agronomical conditions to keep growing coffee. And the reality is that this is not really the focus of the market. This is not really happening. And this is happening in fruit growing, in grains, in the whole industrial agricultural complex that is producing our things. So we have to do something about. This is very clear. And this, I talk also from experiences from, for example, there's a company called Soil and More. They work worldwide. It's a very well-known company. And they have very good data that shows how we can increase the reliability of these markets by investing in soil fertility. I'm not talking yet of converting into organic or biodynamic. I'm just saying of doing soil health approach on the agricultural practices. You know, like using composting, keep the soils covered, do like erosion protection, enhance biodiversity. In the case of coffee, do agroforestry systems, things like this. So this is really a good point. So then when we come into this balance that we can keep it simple with three players on it, then we can ask like, one thing is that I can be very emotional in this and then try to do the best I can to raise this level. But if I forgot about this too and don't make it really functional and operative, you know, in all the chain there's a lot of costs involved in making it happen. You know this very well. So then I cannot just go one side. And the whole trick of this is how do we create a real balance here, and where is the starting point really on this? It's a big question. So yeah, quality related to objective and standard, it's okay. It's like the market point of view, I would say. But in my approach, and now I will jump into out of a scientific thinking more into a more farmer wisdom thinking, and I would say like quality could be something completely really super big and super based on how good is the soil, how good is the people working on it, how much happiness is involved in the coffee process, how much love, how much care is really given to this product. And this many times is not really focused exactly on how is the result of the coffee. And there we have a gap yet. In the coffee industry, we still have a gap between the craft of a specialty coffee and the craft of, let's say, spiritual agriculture, something that can take us further. This is maybe introducing some more topics into this. And this is a nice border that I like that exists, because it's an opportunity for people like me, like we are into this new generation of I was going to say in Spanish, to break these borders and try to jump into something new. And like the wine industry is a very good example. You know, like in the wine industry, you talk about quality with these measurable standards and very objective point of view, but you have the best wines in the world are biodynamic wines. Not that the only ones in the world that achieve the highest scores or the best quality are biodynamic, but the biodynamic wine industry is already recognized to be related to quality. And it is not just because we do some biodynamic practices that the wine becomes a great thing. It's because we do the craft of wine well. And if I don't do the craft of coffee the right way, I can do all the biodynamic things I want to do, but the coffee is not going to taste good. So then I'm out. Then I don't put together these two things I said, like the farming wisdom with the quality, measurable, scientific thing. The good challenge we have in front of us is that we have to put both together. And then this related to this is like, if I talk about quality, I also will talk about the quality of the relationship of the human beings working on the farm. Is it the coffee farming providing an opportunity for the people on the farms to thrive as human beings? Or is it just really something that is allowing people to stay alive? This will be a big question for me in time to say, is it the work that I provide in a farm allowing people to grow as human beings, to facing challenges, and then giving them the chance during the farm operation that they face this challenge, do mistakes, learn from their mistakes, and grow as persons? This is more like a school thinking, but then the question is, if we don't do something like this, then we're not really trying to create a better future. It's my opinion. So then this is a different social approach that goes beyond economy. You know? Actually, I don't know if you think about this, but if in many of the coffee places, this is a shame. If you pay more to the farmer, like from one day to the other, you pay 2-3 times more. The only person that really will get a benefit in many cases will be the owner of the bar, or the owner of any other service around that is not related maybe with what a real farm needs. And then maybe you can have this view of more money will create better conditions, but for some reason they don't go to each other. We need to create a human growth, and then the economy can come to serve the needs of this human growth. But the economy by itself doesn't provide this. So it's really interesting. And we cannot do it without money either. And then in the environmental part, there is a very tricky part here, because many people still think that doing things in the environmental side and keeping trees and keep it under shade and doing compost and these practices is more like love-giving things and not really pragmatic, scientific, agronomical issues to grow better coffee. And in this sense, it's a step we have to do. We have to understand that, and now we're going to talk about a bit about this, how environmental practices that we can define very pragmatically, and we can open also very into this line of wisdom of the farm, can be something very subtle that you can even really recognize but is there, or can be something very measurable, scientific, and concrete that can reach your coffee to the next level. And then this will be my question. When we talk about economy, what are we really talking about? When we talk about economy, we make a better market here in Switzerland, or we're talking about make a better development in the origin of the coffee. When we talk about social, we talk about keeping conditions, human rights, where, in which part of the chain, only in one side or in both sides? This is a nice question, because sometimes, most of the times, when people talk about the social aspect of these products, we always look down to the origin, but I always will question, and what is that side giving to this side? Where is the reciprocal system, and also the environment that I explained?
I'm curious what you are going to say about further details about the price, since you said at the tasting before that you mentioned something like the price is too low. You get paid nowadays.
The farmers, yes.
Or the farmers. So I'm curious about what you're saying about how you would change that, or how you. Because on the other side, you said when you just pay a high price, the farmer is not going to take an advantage of it. So, what success suggestions can you make about that gap?
Okay, we can go directly to something like this. Like it's very simple. We can focus on certain levels. Like we can say, first we can ask, why are we working on the price range that we are working at the moment? What is the real reason of it? Is because this is the real price of the coffee, or is because this is what the market has put as the price we want to pay for the coffee? This is two different things. Where is the price setting happening? You know, this, and then we say, okay, let's pay $1 more or whatever per pound, blah blah. My question before talking about this, how much we have to pay more, will be how is the price setting really happening, and which aspects are taken in consideration when we define a price. You know, because now we've talked about fairness in the pricing setting, fair trade, for instance, or fair pricing, or direct trade. You know? So then, of course, that answers by itself, yes, is set by the market and by offer and demand, more or less, you know, because then the Brazilians have huge stocks of coffee and they just bring it out when they see prices going up or down, whatever, and they handle this. Or whoever other coffee industry in the world. So in the price, first there is one first layer that has to be that we have to go through very honestly, and we have to have the courage to do so and face this directly, and is that we have to start really understanding needs in the origin of the coffees. At the moment, I don't really feel proud of what we've been able to do from the social and environmental aspects to increase prices. I don't think this is really hasn't achieved the goal. And in the other side, it's kind of a joke, the prices that super top quality coffees can achieve. And I can tell you, I mean, this is a very good example. You just cup one table of very high quality coffees, good ranges. These coffees, at the moment, these coffees from this farm and from this region are being paid less than $1 per pound. This is the price that farmers get for this coffee. So if you see it from the quality point of view, you will say this is really not. But then how do you bring these coffees to value $25 or $40 per pound, what you can sell in the super specialty markets? And most of the cases, the farmers that grow these kind of coffees, they have a commitment with the cooperative. This cooperative pays them not in one delivery, they pay them 30, 40, 50% when they deliver the cherries, and the rest of the coffee is paid during the year. Most of this payment comes back as loans or inputs or infrastructure for the farm, so then the farmer owns a debt, then in the next harvest, some of the coffee is delivered just to pay the debt, so it starts a circle of dependency into these systems that is based on low prices and commodity prices. And even if these coffees might be sold as strictly high altitude quality coffees from Costa Rica, the farmer will not see this benefit. And Costa Rica is in a very good position because Costa Rica has a differentiation of price in the market, but in the real sense, when you apply it to the real needs of the Costa Rican livelihood, it's the same thing at the end when the Nicaraguan and Honduras coffees get a different price. For you to understand, grow coffee in Costa Rica could be from 2 to 4 times more expensive than growing in the neighbor countries. And then the farmer is a bit more concerned about certain details, and of course then this brings a question of intensification of the coffee farming that goes out of this direction and goes more here. And most of the time people put economy together with social, saying if we cannot get a good profit, then the farmer will not be in good condition, which is not necessarily right. There's changes. But going back to the price, this is an example of how these super high quality coffees get paid very low in the market at the moment. Of course, they are not harvested like this. You know, this was good selection and we do good process and we care a bit more for it. Normally these coffees, they get just ripped out of the plant, the mixture of greens and yellows and unripe and ripe and overripe and all these things. So then of course, like when you cup a blend of this community, it will not taste like this, maybe. But the quality is there, we just have to select it carefully. And when you go into the fair trade or all the social and environmental brands that accompany one coffee to raise the price, let's say, how much will it be like a Demeter coffee in the market to buy FOB in the origin? 3.5 might be the top, $3.7 per pound, 4 sometimes. FOB in the origin.
But that was what you talked before, it was FOB or it was farm gain?
Yeah, this is a calculation of the payment on the farm. And it could range from 1 to 150, but it's paid actually not in dollars per pound, it's paid on colones per kilo, on cherries, and then there's a calculation we have to play with, but this is a range that we can go deeper if it's needed, but that really goes around that.
Maybe it's a stupid question, but what do you think, how many of the farmers that you work with, they really know the production cost of the coffee?
Well, the farmers I work with, they know.
They know.
This is my job.
That's your job.
But the farmers I don't work with, and the farmers in general, most of them, they don't know.
I think if we talk about price, that's one of the biggest problems. Because if I have a company and I produce a product, I know my production cost. And then I sell it.
Yeah, it's an educational, cultural aspect for sure. But this is a first step. This is why also I said it's not just about being fair in one side. Actually, the farmer has to do his job of doing the things right, be honest and transparent and truthful, and you know, this is also one part. I mean, we cannot just talk about biodynamics and all this and then I mix Demeter with conventional coffees and sell it to someone. We have to be really honest on this line, and this is also a border. You know, I work a lot in Mexico, and Mexico is very well known for not following these things. And then we have a big challenge because, yeah, we're doing organic. Yeah, organic from Mexico is fake. And say, no, wait. This is not true. You know, like then it's a reputation we have to build, rebuild, or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, this is a good question. In the price setting, knowing the need, it's a good question. And to know the need, you need to know your costs, and most of the farmers don't know. But in the price, there's something very interesting, because then if you know the cost of production, then you can enter in a discussion, what is the fair profit from the cost of production? And then you get into another good discussion.
Speak, is it a price to survive, or is it?
Yeah, and then there is things that can be very difficult to compare, because if we come from the honest point of view, raising a family in let's say in a healthy environment in Switzerland might be 3, 4, 5 times more expensive than doing it in other countries. So if we compare incomes, it's not really an honest way to compare livelihoods. You know, like we have to be honest in these regards too. This is really important. And
I saw a really interesting crowdfunding for an approach, they call it equal cost profit or something like that.
Equal profit, yes.
And it's based on the cost you have on each step on the chain. you also share a percentage of the profit to everyone having that costs. I think this can tackle the disbalance of costs, because we have other costs on the production side.
Mm-hmm.
For example, on the roasting or in the resale side. If you focus more on costs, we could also share based on costs.
Yeah, this is a very nice approach. I have studied that one also. It looks really nice. But for example, what I can give you also an example of what we do in Take A Coffee, for example. Like Take A Coffee is an associative economy impulse. What we're trying to do is to show that you can do economy in a different way, and we're using coffee as a pilot project. So we have a coffee network development in Mexico. We work with 150 farmers, more or less. We sailed this coffee into Europe to be into the carbon neutral side. And then we create a membership around Germany and Switzerland. And everyone declares the need of coffee per year, roasted coffee per family per year. And you pay this consumption of coffee that you will have in advance. So then the money goes down to finance the coffee cultivation 1 year in advance. And we are talking not on the cost, but the need of the people. So then the question opens to an even more interesting thing, because it's based on deep trust. And we ask the farmer, what is your real need? And we realized that we are really not ready to ask this question. For example, it's a trust-based. I mean, if someone comes from the other country and tells you, can you tell me your family cost? Then you will have to tell me your problems, your issues, your debts, your goals, your dreams. And this is a personal issue. So it's not like you just go and open this like this, bloom. It requires a social process. So then we are doing one first step on this relationship. But then we come to the other side. What does the sailor need? What does the roaster need? What does the delivery system need? And how we can put this together. So in Take A, what we do is that we're doing a revolution without creating a mess. You know, normally the revolution thinking is that you destroy everything and then you bring it back from ashes. Our concept is that we have a clock that we cannot stop running. And then we are going to start changing the gears on the clock, step by step, smallest first, then a bigger one, then a bigger one. Then you ended up changing the pieces of the clock to make it work in a different way without allowing the clock to stop. So then we are changing different little steps in the chain. But this membership and advance payment concept changed a lot the development. And we went from 30 kilos of coffee in 2017 to 30 tons of coffee this year. There's really a lot of people interested in these models. And it could be an option, could be an inspiration. I think like the biggest problem we have in this dialogue is that we are finding very creative ways to pay different, to pay more, to pay in a different circle, but we are staying within the same economic system. And I think this is the really courageous change we have to do, is that to say we have to change the economic system, because it cannot be based on competition, it cannot be based on discrimination, because that's how it's based. Either volume or quality coffees. I ask you, will you reject a farmer you've been working with the last 10 years that always achieving 86 plus coffees, and then one day he comes with an 83 coffee, something happened in the farm, rain, politics, family, you know these problems now. And now, you know you didn't achieve 85, you're out of the market. Then what happened with these needs, with this family, with these dreams, with these hopes? So then that's something we have to ask, how to assess quality in these real conditions. Like I was in Panama 2 weeks ago or something like this before coming to Switzerland. I was working with some of the top level Panama geisha farms, and it was raining really bad in the middle of the harvest. And one of the biggest discussions we had there in the farm was, this is going to be a really shitty year. You know, the cherries were falling on the ground. You could see like $10 bills falling on the ground every 10 minutes. It's like shit. And then what do? It's nothing really much to do. You go harvest, ferment, do the best you can, and you know the quality will go a bit lower this year. In the high quality coffees, maybe you will get discriminated this year. You don't win the champions and all these things, blah, blah. Okay, they will handle because they are own the market too. But what happened with the small farmers? Just because quality, you don't achieve your product? And what if you're working the same effort, the same work during the year, the same fertilization program, the same rust control, but this year it was just very drought year. The rust was 10 times stronger, you get lower harvest, the costs were the same, you get paid less because it's lower quality, you get paid less because it's less coffee, but you have the same cost. That means the next year the farm is going to be in trouble, you will not be able to do your management that you need. Then prices and volume are not related to human needs. Then you can talk about how good you increase your price or how do you assess quality, it was organic, social, quality, whatever, but then how we relate this to the actual need of the human being behind it. That's why the associative economy model is saying, we get together a community of people and we finance the farmer needs. And the result of this is that he shares the harvest with us. Maybe 10 kilos of coffee per people, maybe 8, maybe 12, but he covers his real needs. This is how Take is looking to work. This is our model. So I'm not saying everyone get into this model. I'm saying this is how we're doing and trying to support. Also, I also work with a lot of coffee companies that are not in these models, and we're trying to find ways to make it work. But this is, we can keep going.
The environmental aspect.
Okay, if this is this chart represents time and environmental quality. Environmental quality, let's say the development of the ecosystem as a unit. Normally the farms are very low in this aspect. Very rarely you find an actual coffee farm that is way advanced in environmental issues. Normally the farms have been affected a lot by the commercial perspective that has developed an agronomical approach that is based on productivity, monoculture, intensification, and this has an effect on the sustainability on the farms. These models that we have created by the economic model we're using are putting the farmers into a race, either for high quality or for high productivity. Which one is best? I don't know, it's a race, you know, and the farmers, I know farmers that their dream is to win the cup of excellence. That's their dream. And it's crazy when someone just harvests the coffee, forget it in a sack underneath the cellar, something like this, and then, oh shit, I forgot this coffee, and they just throw it in the ground. You know, the cat passed by the night before, and there is a cow sleeping in the other side, and is the winner of Cup of Excellence. I know several examples of this. And then there is one person doing all his efforts all day, bam, 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 and he's never go about 5th position or whatever. Then the farmer is just expending money and time and effort and never get there. And the same thing happens with volume. With volume, like for example in Costa Rica, people recommend to use 6,000, 8,000 plants per hectare. Things like this. In Colombia, they go 12,000. Brazil, even around, you know, super crazy. They want to be producing 80 sacks per hectare. And then they said, all that's because they don't know how to handle fertility. You know how to handle fertility? It's not fertility, actually. It's only fertilization. They just bring a lot of inputs from outside. They put it on the farm. The farm explodes in productivity. And then the soils start going down, down, down. So then most of the farms, because of this economic model, they start in a very low ecological condition. It's very common, like acid soils, low minerals, low organic matter, erosion, very common in coffee farms. And then we have this picture of the coffee under shade, and we see, oh, sustainable farming. Let's go deeper. I mean, in the real sense of sustainability, for an agricultural product, you need to have high quality soils, which means good minerals, good biology, good organic matter, and good protection for erosion and other aspects. And if that is not there and you have a lot of trees, it's very nice, but this is not a sustainable farm. Might be a good forest in the future, But if you wanted to keep the balance, you need the farm to have an agronomical possibility to grow coffee. And this is not only just letting the trees grow, you have to do a soil management. So then the farm is here. And let's say this is the minimum condition to call the farm to be above the edge or above the minimum of quality, environmentally talking. They have ground covers, they don't use any longer herbicides, they have compost management, they spray microorganisms or liquid manures, they do things like this. And then the farmer has to start doing this. And then when it comes here, somebody comes and say, yeah, you get the happiness symbol on your coffee. Now I pay you 0.50 more. Okay, all this is very expensive. It might take 1, 2, or 3 years to achieve. And then here is somebody saying, if you get there, I buy your coffee. If you get this certification, I buy your coffee. I get more or less 1 or 2 requests of Demeter buyers from Europe willing to have Demeter coffees, and my answer is always the same. Are you ready to finance this, or do you want the farmer to finance it? Do you want Demeter coffees? Do you want organic coffees? You have to finance it. There is this I will call the historical debt of the industrial coffee system with the coffee farmers. It's an historical debt. And not to talk about the social debt. You know, the production countries, we've financed the coffee industry for 200, 300 years, so now it's about time to refinance back. So to start talking about prices, let's start here. But here, let's talk about pay historical debts. It's not charity projects. It's not giving money for free. It's not something where the farm... These people who is going to do this development of a farm, they need to have a strong will and a strong consciousness and a strong responsibility to do their part of the work. And it's not common to find this kind of people, let me tell you. Pay for the development. Then you get good coffees, and then we start talking about doing business together. It's that simple.
That's simple.
Yes. So, because we don't have this. And you can make a foundation, you can make a charity project, you can do a lot of things, and there's a lot of examples how the coffee industry is already here. We've advancing. But for example, if I go to a farmer and I say to the farmer, okay, you need now to put a compost operation in place. You need to create this liquid fertilizer system, stop pruning your trees. Now you're going to reduce your density. Now we're going to do this. And in 3 years, you see a result that in the coffee production. Who is going to finance this? We already said that the actual farmers, they have 2, 3, 10, 15, 20 years of a circle of debt with their own co-op organization. So to go out of this, to really reach this level, we need to find a way that this is financed. Yeah, maybe it could be like one roaster say, yes, I will finance this. Maybe one trader will say, I will finance it, and then I want to be the exclusive seller of this coffee in Europe, whatever. I don't know. But also, this could be the opportunity for an international alliance to develop the project. That's why I said it's not charity what I'm talking about. It's not just give money to the poor farm. This is not going to work. It's really an approach where we say, okay, let's take the farms to a next level. And once we have farms in the next level, then the farms have the possibility to really work in this system. Yes.
What do you think? Like, how long does it take? If there is somebody saying, let's do it. So because, like, yeah.
It really depends on how the farm is at the beginning point. And also we have to accompany this also with a coffee supply strategy. Most of the times, the farm that is doing this needs to already have some coffee. You know, it can't be a pasture. Well, it could be, but we have to accompany this with a coffee market strategy that begins in the day zero. So, for example, you want super high quality coffees, biodynamically grown in these hills in Honduras that they have the altitude and the ecosystem, but for some reason not the quality. So then we need to replant. So then this replanting will happen with good quality product that you know that when we get here, you will get coffees that are above 85, let's say. So then you can think about a very good market that will make this, I wouldn't say to recover this money, but I will say to be able to develop another project like this. So then maybe you have to work with these coffees for a few years. And then the first investment maybe will be to have a very high quality processing center where we can standardize quality and raise the level that is actually there while we start changing other things on the process. So it has to be really hand to hand with this. This is really the tricky part. And if you begin to start using, I was going to give a thinking, but I want to give you an experience. We've experienced that in a 2-year period of a very, very high intensive investment on soil fertility and soil health approach, you can really reach a good level. So let's say if you start, depending the condition of the farm, then maybe year 1 and year 2 could be very strong investments, and year 3, 4, 5 could be like a different model. Let's say if you want to see this, how much money you will put in, then let's say something like this. I don't know. And then there will be one moment when this is somehow financed by the same coffee, you know, like it's no longer coming from another source. But as I said, and this is pretty honest, this is an historical depth. And not just in coffee, actually from your own farmers here. This happens worldwide. You know, we have an historical depth with soil fertility as humanity. It's not, I'm not talking about Europe to Americas. I'm not willing to enter into the colonialism question that adds another complexity. I'm just asking the simple reality that society has an historical depth with soil fertility. So in the coffee sector, then we add another layer of complexity, which is the overseas situation. But that's.
Is it more lack of knowledge in this case, or lack of money?
No, money is enough.
So
the money is just not in the right place.
Yeah. So when we talk about lack of knowledge, what do you think is
consciousness? Because I don't think.
No, what I want to say is, okay, let's say when we talk about consciousness, let's say black and white, the farmer knows nothing, but there has someone to be like you knows a lot.
Are you talking about, like, let's say technical knowledge, or right. Because also I was mentioning consciousness more in the sense of awareness of knowing that there's something wrong. No, but it's
the way, the knowledge, how you can change that. And
yeah,
as I see now, you know a lot about it.
Here, look, we have
a view of how you want to do it, how you want to make that shift. So, are there enough people or institutions or whatever, or is there a lack?
No, we are ready. Yes, it's a matter of we have to put it in place and get more experience. It's lack of money in the right place.
Or people who are willing to pay to invest in that.
Yeah, but also we have to be very smart, because we cannot do this just like, as I said, because maybe it's very easy to do a very good talk and then you get a very rich guy from Switzerland to put millions of euros there, but maybe the social intention and endeavor of money has to be related with a future vision. It's not just a lot of money coming in one place. It's to say a very smart marriage between wisdom and rationality and financial foundation for it, but also like a vessel that holds the thing together into a future vision. It's not just like a lot, because I've worked with projects that they just send a lot of money and then you don't know what to do with the money. And then it's this kind of project that you have to spend all the money. Then you let's buy 10 barrels. You know, you just end up, and it's not just money. It's a quality of money that needs to come down to the ground. It's a quality of people that has the money to say, okay, because we are humans, we're gonna do mistakes. So then we have to start from a point of view of creating a learning field, and then grow together.
So as I say it, it's more an education thing.
Mm-hmm.
Start developing, I mean, education from educating the buyers as well as everyone in the chain, as well as educating in, like you are doing with your consultants to the farmers on site. Like,
yeah.
If they know what they are doing and what the aim is, then you can present it to the buyers at the moment, and so on and so on. So it's, if everyone is on the same page, then it can start actually going into this direction.
Mm-hmm. And I think also there's one work that is needed, that is getting together a lot of people that is already working these questions. I mean, I'm not talking about something that is not being addressed before. There's a lot of knowledge around already on this, and foundations and institutions and academy, the World Coffee Research on one side trying to bring new varieties, and on the other side the Specialty Coffee Association asking questions how to do a more standardized quality process that can raise the quality of coffee. In one side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 socially approached projects for coffee that are trying to bring down. So maybe there is one work that is already like make a good survey of what is happening to try to develop something that really matches with a wider view of what we can solve. Because also we cannot be like blinded or be like this horse thing that is like this and say, yeah, my vision is more like, this is one perspective, but really in the coffee sector, there's a lot of people doing really good work in this direction. So we can actually have to get together to make it easier. And that's why I say it's not just a matter of money, because you can see this very, very economically too. Might work, but you need to go for good foundations. I will give you an example. Demeter coffee. It's a big market, really. It's a great opportunity. And if one company says, okay, let's develop 100 farms Demeter. In 3 years, we have 4 or 5 containers of Demeter coffee. Do you think it won't be sustainable economically? Of course it will. There's maybe like a sphere we have to go through in this direction. But also someone like this could come and say, okay, let's do a Demeter development. We had the experience with 18 Conejo. We had the support from one importer in Italy who said, okay, I will give you this amount of money every year during 3 years for you to do the Demeter works. And we did. And we finally succeed getting the certification for the project. And then no one has enough Demeter coffee for what the market is asking for. And then you can take it also, because we haven't explored the potential of the top quality Demeter coffees. This is coming in the future. You just had a preview on the table. This could be like...
In trade, I have seen a problem actually that actually makes us not be able to reach anyone, because there's an exclusivity clause in that sense, and then yes, you may have my contact. I love this coffee. It would be great if you have it, but don't bring it to my country. And then again, you are like, okay, we could actually, and we are wanting to do something, but we get to the point where every door is closed to us.
To get biodynamic coffees.
Not only to get, like, just to be able to, we're looking obviously for our markets. So we reach out to people that we know, that have had experience with these coffees, and yes, we need to supply our markets. And so we go to the origin and we want to make it happen. Get to talk to the producers and they tell us, yes, we would love to, but we have an exclusivity clause. And so for your market, it's completely out. Maybe for some other markets, maybe you would.
This is bad and it's good. It's bad. It's bad because it's not the essence of how the biodynamic work should look like, but it's the reality of the market.
Indeed.
That is making these separations. But it's good in the sense that it's forcing your company to do this work yourself.
Yes.
So then, if you do this work with a group of farmers and develop them and take them to Demeter, to Biodynamics, then you get an exclusivity with them. And I wouldn't say this is the way to go. Don't do it. Don't tell. Yeah, it's not that I'm saying go do it. It's saying that this is why I say that it's a problem of the economic model, because it's based on competition and discrimination. You know, even in between the biodynamic farmers, we have a couple of discussion tables where it's 4 or 5 people, and then it becomes like.
It's nice to have a niche, but the problem is everyone wants to have the unique selling point, because that means money to again reinvest, and then you can go.
Yeah, but look.
That's why I reached out to you in the first place, and it was because the interest is there, because there is a demand, and also because of personal interest in this model. And well, I visited the farm as well, the family farm, and yes, for me it's I see it from 2 sides, and I still have very to define where can I combine these two how can I combine these 2 approaches, from the production side and from the trade side. And I see the buyer is actually the link.
Yeah, and actually in the most of the, actually no, in all the biodynamic projects I know, some I work with, some I don't work with, the key point for developing both the farm and the market is that they have a very close connection. And this is quite interesting because it's based on this part. It's based on someone said, okay, I believe you're doing the work. I will buy your coffee since the beginning, even if it's not certified yet. I will go together in this direction. Sometimes it's financing the farms. Sometimes it's just offering higher prices during a period of time while they do the conversion. There's been several approaches, but in all the Demeter farms I know, they've been developed in this with a model that looks somehow similar to this, like the market not necessarily sends money, but supports the development of the farmer to reach this level. And in the practical sense, to really reach this level, in the technical aspects, it requires a very complex approach. I mean, the farms really are far away from biodynamic, for example.
Excuse me?
Yes, maybe we can, because the intention of this is like not to leave answers, but actually to create questions that can lead us into a transformation together to do something about, because at the end we have to do one step. I'm doing my part, for example, of trying to bring the coffees to a better quality while we do biodynamics, both together. Like this table is a small example of this. It's like trying to push a bit and say, okay, here is something. We can be in another level of coffees, not necessarily talking about these commodity coffees, because this also changed. You try this super nice biodynamic coffee, good history, but if it has to taste good. That's a problem. And sometimes that's really hard. But what I go is that we're doing this work, and there's a lot of work done here in this side, the market side. And I feel actually we have to begin by sitting together and see what is really possible to do, and get out of this. It's very simple to fall in the discussion. Okay, I like your coffee. Let's buy your coffee. Let's say no. Let's do not buy quality. Let's buy to develop quality. It's a different approach. You know, it's not just like I taste the quality. Yeah, I like it. I buy it. I say okay. this is an interesting coffee, it's an interesting person, here there is commitment, we can build bridges together. This I believe a lot. We have a company in Mexico that's their approach, and it's very successful. Because we've seen that also is more sustainable for the farmer to have a price that reaches the farmer's goals, but also the market needs, and then it stays stable during time. You know, sometimes the coffees are higher scoring or lower scoring within a range, and the price doesn't change because of this. So the market can get benefits and play with the coffees somehow, but then there is an agreement between market and farmer, and the farmer keeps a stable price, and this is more sustainable for the farmers. We've learned this. It's more sustainable to keep a good price that matches the needs of the farmer, that is stable in long term, than having 1 year super high price and the next year you don't get your coffee sold. So then this is also interesting things to think. Let's not buy quality, let's develop it, let's work on it. Because in the quality realm, we have the same line to work. Sometimes we have to change, we require more time to really, not to teach, but that the people really embrace the quality picking of the coffee. It takes a lot of time, really. You're welcome next harvest to try to, one hand you hold from the plant and the other one you. Okay, so maybe we can open a round of thoughts, of impressions. This was really not totally organized to have an entire day or something. We just wanted to meet and be able to have an exchange of coffees, exchange of thoughts. Yeah. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you want a coffee?
One question. Are there enough people that are ready to invest in getting to that level of biodynamic? Is enough people that will say, okay, I want biodynamic and I'm ready to invest?
I think like as fewer the same amount of a small group of farmers that are really willing to do the conversion is the small group of people in the market that is willing to do it also. I think it's a matter of time, and we need more dialogues and step by step, no? But Paul is here. Paul is from the market. He can tell us how many people is really looking into it. Farmers, I can tell you I have.
Then there will always be an exclusivity clause, at least for short term.
I hope no, that has to change.
But the problem is like, who's ready to invest money to get to the level you need, and then the farmer is selling it to someone else. So you invested all the money and you don't get anything out of it.
That's why I say it's not just like a lot of money going to one place, and that's why I mentioned that this could be an organization or a structural system that helps to develop coffees in a different range, that also, yeah, the farmers should be free of this. We should have freedom to choose who to sell our coffee. And then there has to be also an agreement, and the market. This is one of the things. This is why the economic model has a problem, because it's based on competition and discrimination. So then, how to deal with this? I don't have the answer. My attempt with Take a Coffee, or working with Take a Coffee, is try to create a picture that can help us see how this will look in a different economic model.
But if you have a big group, but then the big group is still like they invest. But then they expect something out of it as well. But like if you just invest.
Yeah, let's say if you're an investor and you tell me, Esteban, I can finance one farmer. Yeah. I want to get this coffee. Maybe my recommendation will be that the investment is not 100%. That the farmer also do a part of the investment. So then there is 50% exclusivity and 50% of the coffee is not. And then maybe you get a commitment that after 5 years, then the farmer is free to sell to anyone. Maybe that's a way to go.
I actually thought of a model that may actually work, and that's exactly for companies, roasteries specific, that for example would like to be going in this direction, but it cannot be from today and tomorrow, but in a process. and it would be to let us, for example, take that over. Like they can select which farm that they know, that they are close to, that we work also with. That then the contracts they do for other qualities as well, we put a price in there. That, let's say it goes just a commodity, let's say just Honduras HG. They buy like every other contract, and we put a +2, let's say. But they do the most volume in this sense, and then we translate this +2 to that farm, financing a development in this direction, at least on how much volume they do in the commodity.
This is what I said. Like you can join this with another supply model.
Exactly.
That the other supply has a plus because it's financing this, and then all of the sudden you cross by somewhere.
Exactly.
This is good. I mean, I think it's a matter of getting two people, like one from the farm, one from the market, and start opening the dialogue and finding solutions together. Everyone will look different. I hope it's not always staying in this exclusivity, because it has to be based not in exclusivity contracts, but in trust relationships. That might be a change in the model. This is why I try to promote, but it's not always, it's not that hard. But all the time, I'm also happy to help people in any part of the chain that has will to do some change. And then I believe that if we can make small changes everyone has different needs. And when you put together a coffee machine that has its own rhythm, you cannot just ignore the needs of this rhythm of this organization and do everything different. So I acknowledge that some people take decisions in small ranges of variation of their whole system, and this is honorable to do it like this too. And I recognize these people can only, because of a logistical, operational, whatever, make a small change. Then we do this small change, and then we see what else can happen, step by step. I believe this is the way.
What would you say if I say that because there are very few biodynamic coffees at the moment, some are already too good in their quality to reach a wider market. So we have the problem with
they are too good.
We have the problem with Delicioso Ocho Conejo, because there's too much acidity for Swiss customers, so people don't like it. So we have a very small market to sell because it has too much acidity. Of course we could.
Yeah, but this is a really interesting topic that we could work in different way. We can, because maybe with a farm like this, we can work together in what can we change in the agronomy and in the varieties to achieve a coffee that matches better the market. Because then, that is what we need. Actually, that's the real funny part. We can start like really twiddling with the machine and wiggling it up and finding because coffee allows you to do it. You can find, actually now in the market, you have yeasts to ferment the coffee, that the yeast will increase either fruity flavors or acidity flavors, or will take out all the woody notes and things like this. Not that it's adding anything new to the coffee, but it's bringing certain qualities higher or lower. So I will say with this example specifically, you have to ask Flor, but I would like to do.
Okay.
Esteban, I want to say just a small comment.
Por favor.
I'm sorry if it's maybe kind of another subject, but I'm going to talk mostly as a farmer, as a biodynamic farmer, because, well, I am also an agronomist, and I also a soil scientist, and I work as an organic inspector in Central America and this stuff. And this talks, it's a lot of maybe technical, complex, and really our thinking and simulating this. But I just want to tell you a little story about how biodynamics was born almost 100 years ago. And this comes from this economic concept. Associative economics comes And also biodynamic comes from Rudolf Steiner's spiritual science. It's his anthroposophy, his philosophy. And why does biodynamics is born in the world? And Rudolf Steiner was with his agricultural pupil, and they were analyzing why the spiritual scientific movement was not having success here in Europe. And Steiner tells Wilhelm Pfeiffer, his scientist, he tells him that the problem is a lack of spirit in human beings, right? And I am saying this because we talk a lot about quality, and sometimes quality approach we tended to make it not a thinking and an intellectual approach, but Rudolf Steiner and biodynamics exist because Rudolf Steiner said to him that the problem is our foods. The food that we are eating does not bring the spiritual real impulse, and because the degradation of how we grow our food, there's no spiritual forces now in these foods. So biodynamic, it's initiated because they were attempting to produce food with the spirit. That's why Esteban at the beginning he said that spiritual agriculture. You know, Steiner died, and the name biodynamics came afterwards. That's another thing. But there's a thing, something in the background that is about the spirit. And the Demeter is the brand, is the certification. But I think that it's an interesting story that maybe you should be acquainting of in your minds. The biodynamic movement, its purpose is to give a food to humans that it will nourish our spirit, and through the spirit evolution of the human societies. That's one of the main issues in biodynamics. So that's just like a little history that sometimes it goes apart, but I, as a biodynamic farmer, always needs like the responsibility to tell this story, because nowadays we live in this world with markets and all this virtualize a little bit our foods, and I think it's important. I don't know if you are spiritual persons or not, but if you are going to, I think it's good for you to know that if you are going to begin working with Esteban and with biodynamic foods, it's important for you to know like the thing that begin all this movement is about nourishing the spirit of human beings.
That is great, thank you. And also I think that's why I mentioned a couple of things, like I say, is it the work we're providing on the farms allowing human beings to thrive? It's a good question. It's related to this. Is it just money, or is a quality of money that has to arise from a different perspective? It's also related to this.
And to trust.
The trust, yes, not about exclusivity, it's about creating trust. How do you create this level of trust where you can actually work trust together with economical models?
And this is spiritual.
I think this is the gap.
This spiritual quality of this biodynamic and Demeter food, science has now, they have this quality holistic assessment of foods. And there are many scientists working in this 30, 40 years ago here in the Netherlands, in Swiss, in Dornach, and in Germany. There's lots of institutions of scientific. We are working in formative courses. So if you are interested in quality, I am inviting you to research a little bit about this quality assessment holistic methods for foods that they are involving. It's called formative courses, and it's a whole different approaches of how you can have like a carrot, it's conventional, and a carrot is organic, and a carrot is biodynamic, and they have now scientific methods to see this spiritual influence of biodynamics in the food system.
This is really a border of quality.
I actually have some nice chromos from biodynamic and organic coffee and conventional coffee. You can totally see the difference. I have some.
But then is the things where I said like, this is like this scientific approach, and there is more like a side, what I will call it like wisdom approach. And the task we have for the future is that we have to work with both of them together. This is the whole. So maybe I will use this input from Gustavo to close. It's really nice to leave it there. Like the thinking is not just like how do we exchange money differently. It's not like we're doing biodynamics, we're doing organic, and we are saving the world. It's like we really make sure that this relationship is creating a different quality of human being, eye-to-eye aspect that can help us to grow a bit. You know, like this is, for me, is really the core of what we do, is try to take it further. Actually, I always have it very clear. This is the agriculture of the future. So we are struggling in the present to make it appear, but if we don't do so, then it will never happen. So this gap maybe is a challenge for someone. Maybe someone will say, yeah, I want to make an economic model to make it work. In TK, we are trying to do so. So then this is different approaches. Let's get everyone together. This is another message I would like to leave also, is like we have to really work together. Otherwise, it's going to be the same, just it's division and things. So thank you very much for this space. Thank you for helping up with the roasting and cupping. Really enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed the coffees. And I can, yeah. If you are interested also, then we can look forward into the future of these coffees. And thank you very much. Pura vida. Great.